The angel says, verse 16, surely I will be with you. Now notice he says, I have sent you, I will be with you. When God calls you, He will equip you. When God sends you, He goes with you. He is getting ready to do something that is unimaginable through Gideon. I can't wait to get to that part, but you're going to have to wait. Because he's trusting in the Lord. I will be with you. And you will defeat the Midianites as one man. Then he said to him, if now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it's you who talk with me. Now this being, this angel, is giving this message, and he's saying, look, I need evidence that this is a message of God. I don't know that the angel's glowing or hovering or anything like that. Often angels appear as men. And he says, I've come with a message from God for you. And he's saying, give me some sign. I need to know this is from the Lord. And so he makes a proposal. He says, do not depart from here, I pray, until I come to you, and I'll bring you an offering and set it before you. And he says, I'll wait till you come back. I mean, God, He lives in eternity. This is no problem for Him to wait. So Gideon, keep in mind, this is during the time of famine. He begins his calling by sacrifice. He begins his ministry by giving. And you'll often find this happens in the Bible. He makes an offering. And he goes and he gets a young goat, a kid, and he prepares unleavened bread. Now wait a second here. Do you know that would qualify as a Passover offering? Unleavened bread and a goat or a sheep, one of the first year, had to be offered. And so here he begins his journey for God the same way the children of Israel did, with the sacrifice of a lamb and unleavened bread. That's when they began their adventure. Gideon now begins his adventure with this sacrifice. And this is, costly. It's a time of famine. They're greatly impoverished. But he gives to this messenger, and God is getting ready to perform a miracle. You notice that the Lord performed a miracle for the widow, but He only performed the miracle for the widow that Elijah stayed with when Elijah said, first bring me a cake and a glass of water. She said, but we have nothing left to eat. He said, trust me. God will supply if you begin with a sacrifice. And she ended up eating through the rest of the famine because she began her adventure with God by trusting Him through sacrifice. God could do so many more things for us. He'd perform so many more miracles for us if we would say, Lord, I believe it's you, and I'm going to make a sacrifice to you because I believe it. We seal our covenant of commitment through a gift in this way. He prepared this and he presents it. He comes underneath the terebinth tree and he presents this to the angel. And the angel of God said to him, take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on the rock. What is a rock the symbol of? Jesus, the rock of ages. We give our sacrifice, our offerings to who? To the rock. Lay them on the rock and pour out the broth. And he did so. And the angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand. The angel could have spoken the word. He could have touched it with his finger. But the staff in the Bible represents the authority of God. And he places this staff out. He was going to transfer leadership authority to Gideon. He takes the staff in his hand, and he touches the meat and the unleavened bread, the symbol of the Passover, and fire arose out of the rock. Supernatural fire is a sign of God's approval in these cases. When the fire came down on the offering of Abel, when the fire came down when Moses established the temple, the fire came down for Elijah, the fire came down on the altar for Solomon. These were signs of God's acceptance of their prayer and His acceptance of their offering. And it consumed the meat and the unleavened bread, and the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. He disappeared.